Yes, 26. Apparently, Vandal Savage has a big curvy knife. You want to get this for the big curvy knife? This continues the story I was talking about, and also other members of the Bat family will show up in this storyline as well. Again, it's it'll be dealing with the new Superman and figuring out how they all work together now becomes the big question. Also, I mean, the other critical thing is these folks knew Superman when he was at full power, when Superman would always turn the other cheek when facing any new opponent, because if you're invulnerable and you don't take a second to figure out another way to deal with a problem other than punching somebody, you're a colossal jerk. And that's his nature, is to reach out and to try to understand and include and diffuse, right? And then punch people through the moon if he has to. But the Superman under these new circumstances may, by necessity, have to adopt different tactics, and that may be traumatic for him and for others.
Thanks. So before we move on, Tom, I'm going to ask, is it too soon to start talking about Robin War?
No, we can talk about it.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So Robin War is our big Gotham December event that crosses over with 10 or 12 books. And I know I think what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to deny it's a crossover event because everyone's tired of crossover events.
But they buy them.
But more importantly, I buy them. And I bought them, and I did Extinction Agenda, man. I did Death of the Mutants. I love those events, and I love that they can be done when they're done well, because they can change status quos and they can raise the stakes in ways that just normal comics can't, because we have so much talent to the table all at the same time. And that's what I want to do with this event, is to create something that really is the 75th anniversary of Robin. He's a character that's been around for ages and has really sat at the heart of American culture. And I want to look at that character and what he means as an inspiration and what it means for a child superhero to inspire people. And Robin War, it's going to be basically almost like a weekly event. It crosses over weekly. It starts at Robin War 1 in December and goes to Detective, We Are Robins, and a ton of other issues. And I love it. I think it's very good. It may or not feature the owls, just because they're on every cover. It could just be a huge ruse that we're throwing at you guys. If you're tired of events, my job is to wake you up and show you what an event can do and what it can be and how good it can be.
Thanks. So anything more from you guys before we throw this out to questions? So let's throw this out to questions then. If you raise your hand or if you stand up and be enthusiastic, I'll call on you. I'll try to get to all sides of the room. Start right there.
Hi. This is particularly for Scott. I saw that for Gotham Season 2, Court of Owls was confirmed that it's going to be in the storyline. And I was wondering if you could give us a little information, like anything you could tell us before it starts, or how they're going to work it in.
I can tell you, Greg and I will be the owls in the back like this. No, honestly, they told me that they were thinking of using them. I heard through Jeff a little while ago, and I honestly, other than that, I don't know. I'm just really thrilled that they're going to be part of that storytelling, and I think we're honored. So.
Cool.
Right here.
Question, right? Yeah. Well, after you take Superman into the world of the secret, when he eventually goes back to becoming Superman, whatever that may be.
Who knows? He is Superman.
Yeah, he is Superman. Yeah. Well, how do you get the world to kind of, if he gets his full powers back, how do you get the world to kind of be like, well, we know who he is, how does he kind of live his normal life again?
He's asking if Superman gets his full powers back, how will he do what he does if everybody knows his identity? Well, we will see what happens. You have to buy all the issues and find out. But those are the awesome questions, aren't they? Like what? I mean, we put this character in as much trouble as we could come up with, and which is what I think is a smart thing to do in this kind of in serial storytelling. And that's the drama, to see how these heroes rise to the occasion, and also how it affects everybody else in this universe. So those are great questions. Keep reading.
Next. Back there.
Scott, was there any plans for Superman and Jane, another volume of it, or continuation?
No, I mean, that was really, it was sort of a project Jim and I wanted to do, and then we were going to see if we could keep going, and both of us had ideas and wanted to, but he has so many obligations, and I have, you know, so many in that world, it wasn't something that we thought.
Scott, I think reading past the reviews, you said that you draw on personal experience writing Batman. What personal experiences have you drawn on with the current art with Gordon and Batman?
He asked basically what personal experiences I've drawn on, because I've said that I try to make the arts personal, I guess, for this one, for Super Heavy. And I guess the truth is, I mean, growing up in New York, I've always been fascinated by the way sort of people deal with big intractable problems, you know, whether it's class stratification or issues with police brutality, or all of this stuff, how communities get along and all of it. And I really wanted to do a story, if I was going to take Bruce off the table, that would show if this Batman is gone, if the superhero is gone, can we all rise to be heroes in the vacuum that's created? Or is someone like Mr. Bloom going to come along? And my favorite in issue 5 is so evil. When you see, he doesn't even know he's killing people. He's like, he'll walk through and his fingers almost just stab through people, and he doesn't even notice, you know, in his gala. And he comes in and he's sort of like happy that all the community leaders are there and the politicians and everything. And he's like, I love what you guys are doing. I brought you $1. And he has it on his finger and he's like, who wants it? You know, and he's like, it shoots out at people, you know? Because he's like, all of you guys thinking that a city like Gotham or New York or Baltimore or isn't anything but an exercise in futility where we don't like each other and we're not going to get along and we're pretending and all of that, and you should look out for your own and not for each other. You're being fake. And he's the worst kind of villain that way. He's so scary. To me, his origin, he's almost the opposite of the Joker, where the Joker, no origin can be good enough for him because he's up here. The scary thing about Bloom to me is that anybody can become. You know, Bloom is almost like, you can't, his powers are incredible, you see, but he's basically saying, none of this works, you know it's not going to work, it certainly won't work without Batman. So come take from me, come to the end of the alley, the dark alley where I'm always waiting, I'll give you powers, and you watch out for yourself and nobody else. And so, for me, it's a very personal art. I mean, we just did an issue 44, you know, that was one of the grittiest, I think, issues that we've tried to do, where I wanted to be deeply about what Batman means to the real world. It's like, I go to these cons, right? You have problems in your life. Why do you like Batman if it's not just escapism in that way? And it's certainly not escapism. So what does he mean to a city that's plagued by problems that seem entrenched and systemic? Like, can he mean anything? And that's what this is about, because Bruce needs to learn to be Batman means to die, to be a ghost, to be a samurai, to be someone who is nothing beneath the mission again. He has to give up his life to become a phantom. And what Gordon has to learn in a big way is really what the police need and what we all need, each of us, whether you're, you know, a politician or a policeman or community or whatever. They don't need masked superheroes, and they don't need big emblems and symbols. They need people with their faces exposed and their hands outstretched and to do things together. And that's really what this art is deeply about. So I love it. It's one of my favorite things I've written. And of course, when it goes back the other way, you know, at the end, it'll be personal again, you know, using Two-Face, the arc of villains and that stuff. But you try really hard to make each arc kind of look like Batman. If you don't do it and make it personal, there's no point. Because otherwise it's too scary otherwise, because I look around and I see so many Batman shirts and all that. My kid actually called me on the way to this panel. He's like, good luck, Daddy. I was like, thanks. And he's like, I have a question. You know, what if there are people in the room that just hate your work? That never happens, son. But the point is, Batman means everything to a lot of us. And if you don't write it in a way where you're pretending you made him up, or you're pretending you're writing fan fiction, you know, for yourself, and it's about things that matter to you personally, it's too intimidating. It's too intimidating. It's crushingly intimidating and paralyzing. So that's kind of what this art is about.
Scott, the conspiracy and whether Bruce did or did not have brother, down in Court of Owls.
He was asking if we're going to get back to the Court of Owls and the conspiracy as to whether or not Lincoln March was Bruce's brother. I would just say that the Robin Orr stuff, and there are a lot of plans for the Owls right now, and they're very they're sort of very ingrained in a lot of storytelling coming up. So I would say just look there.
Way back?
Will you ever let Pollock get a writing suit?
Bullet get a ride in the suit. I don't know if he'll fit in the suit, but he's like, I love Harvey, man. He's one of my favorite characters to write beside Jim. He always gets the best lines, you know. He's great. So he has a role, he has a part at the end, you know, too. So yeah.
So, I guess you guys have sorry, the teeth is really hard to talk to. So, you guys obviously have a connection to a lot of characters, Batman, Harley Quinn, Joker, all the characters. What do you guys think about like the new appearances, or like the appearances or just takes on the ones in the new movies coming out, like in the next year or so? You guys, this is for anyone who wants to answer.
Yeah, no, I mean, the question is, what do we think it would take for the movies coming out? I guess Suicide Squad, Superman, Batman.
You guys have your chance to say something. You guys have
I guess we know how you feel about it.
Yeah, yeah, it looks great. You look great, man. You know, it's exciting for us to see. You know, and when we work on comics, we understand that the films sometimes they take the core of the character, but they do their own thing. You know, and I think the most exciting part of working in comics is to see, especially for writers, is what each artist brings to it. So in a way, when we look at the films, we say, well, what is this group of a director or designers, and what are these people going to bring to the role, especially actors as well. So at least for me, it's really exciting because when people go, well, it's not exactly like I pictured it, and I'm like, right, but watch the movie and then see what happens, because it might be something totally that you haven't thought of. And again, that's the beauty. That's one of my favorite things is the art in comics, the art of storytelling. And if everybody looked the same, you know, maybe you're happy on one level, but on another level, you want something new all the time. And we definitely, all of the books up here, if you looked at the screen, every one of these artists looks completely different, and yet it's Batman. You know, so in a way, that's how we feel about the films. We're just glad it's there.
I agree 100%. The thing that I've never been a reader who cared whether this was like something else. You know what I mean? Like whether this adhered to a certain standard of the platonic ideal of Batman or whatever. I mean, I love Batman. I love the Adam West TV show when I was a kid. I love that original Batman origin story, which I read like 800 times, which showed him like his, what is the lines of like training his body to physical perfection or whatever. Exactly. And I was like, I could do that. And I have. And I loved I loved Batman Year One. I mean, that blew my mind. I loved Dark Knight Returns. All of those are completely different, and that's the glory of these characters. That's why we're writing them now, because they've survived as long, because they allow themselves to be expressed in so many different ways. So when I see new movie stuff, I'm always psyched for it. I freaking love the new Aquaman look. You know what I'm saying? Like Jason Momoa as Aquaman is gonna be freaking awesome. I also love blonde Aquaman with the hook. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff. So that's the glory of it. I'm always up for anything.
Yeah, for me, one of the big things was when the trailer came out for Batman vs Superman. It was the moment that it was out of the suit. It was Affleck him protecting that kid and then looking up with that anger. That was one of the most Bruce looks that I've ever seen on the face of an actor, like in any incarnation of the character. It just, in that moment, in a single image, like Affleck nailed the pathos of Bruce Wayne as I see him, and it's just like that was the moment that was just like, oh, okay, this could be a very special performance in the role. And like everyone else is saying, I'm always excited to see a new take. I'm always excited to see them branch out and try to create something new. And I'm gonna be out there with all the rest of you, just hopefully cheering, because it's the coolest damn thing I'm gonna see next year. So.
And I got one thing I want to add too. It's weird when my neighbor, who's like young kids, teenagers, they saw the Suicide Squad trailer and they came over and they looked at me like, oh, I get what you do. Like before that, they just thought, oh, they do comics, and then they saw Harley in the Suicide Squad, and the daughters wants to dress up like her, and they're like, oh, you actually work on that book? Like it just realization hit them. So that media too, it also helps, I think, bring a lot of awareness, and we're happy about that. Obviously, we're all here celebrating it. So, yeah.
Speaking of Suicide Squad, people haven't seen you. Could you stand up?
Yeah.
Joker looks just great.
Yeah.
saying that Batman says whenever they fight, it's a tie. And do I really believe that? So I'm usually like, whenever anyone asks me, like, Avengers versus X-Men, who wins? I'm like, Batman wins. So I think what I was trying to say, I think the line is actually, he says, when we fight, nobody wins. In the way we both lose. Because he knows, the two of them fighting is the worst thing. If you're asking me who would win in a fight between them, which is part of the question, I mean, I always go with Batman no matter what, even if he's not in the fight. But
That's Superman being nice.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but yes, and thanks a lot for your cosplay. You look amazing. It's dressed as the Red Hood. I want to say
Back over here. Right at the back.
Batman fan from way back, and you and Greg were on Batman is like the best thing since your old, quite frankly. And the Ford House is the first. There's been a lot of attempts to bring in like new villains, and they've been kind of sorry. But Ford House is like genuinely scary. And you guys have all kinds of special features, which is why I'll come back to it after you guys know this story. Since we're here celebrating Batman's birthday, I have to ask you, when is that going to come out? Because that book was scary as all get out. And as a father of a young daughter myself, I really identify with your character in that. That is like some of the best work you've ever done. Just scary, outfit, and great movie, and maybe number 7.
yes, they will be in Batman number. No, which is, thank you so much for saying that. We're working on it now, and it's going to be in about. Image has a policy right now where they want you to get a few issues if you can, just to make sure nothing runs late anymore. So it will probably be. We're working on it now, so I would think probably 8 or 9 months, but it'll be fine.
Question up there?
Hi. My question was about the writing of race number 12, actually. And I was wondering, I know like a lot of older continuity sort of makes